Hi, welcome to the YouTube experience. Here it is a Nigerian-American heritage. These are YouTube videos in which we talk about things that are unique to the Nigerian-American heritage. I have mentioned before that the Nigerian society is very heterogeneous. That means you have a population of 200 million. And often enough, when we talk about the Nigerian-American heritage, it's very difficult to say that this is what all Nigerians do. So often enough, it's a little bit of a Yoruba tint or a Yoruba slant to that heritage. And in this topic, we're going to talk about names. Names. Names are actually important in the entire African continent. So for people who do not know, the African continent consists of about 54 countries. And for Nigeria, which is in the West African part of the continent, one out of probably every 5 African is a Nigerian. But the important thing is that names connote major impact to people in the Yoruba culture especially. So therefore, for me, for example, my name is Olanrewaju. Olanrewaju means wealth is increasing. Now that sounds odd, but it's only odd if one doesn't understand the culture. So the culture indicates that when you have more children is a sign of wealth. So in Africa as a whole, including Nigeria and the Yoruba culture, having children is a sign of God's blessing, and wealth is counted as the fact that God has blessed you with many children. So at the time I was the third born child, and therefore my name was Olanrewaju, meaning wealth is increasing. So often enough, these names are a reflection of what has happened in that child's life or in the life of the family, and it signs the names now is now like a record of the genealogy of that family. So in my family, at least my own direct family, my first son is Oludurotimi, meaning God has stayed with me. And the second one is Oludamilare, meaning God has established me or has justified me or vindicated me. And my second, Olumayewakun, meaning God has made my joy full. The third, Olulonishishe, God has done this to the very end. And Olufoinsola, God has put honey upon wealth. So the circumstances of their birth and the circumstances of the family usually denotes the name. So for the first son was because I had arrived as an immigrant in the United States and had experienced tough times. And in those tough times, God had made it possible. And therefore that name is a reflection of the gratitude to God for being with us at the time we arrived in the United States. However, by the time I had my second son, it was a joy to have him. So his name was Olumayewakun, means God had made our joy full. So we already had a first son, and sometimes people have only one child and do not have children again. So to be able to have a second son was that his name manifested and was a reflection of the joy that it brought to the family. And coincidentally, the first son was diagnosed with autism, and my second son came to be a real joy for both him and us as parents. After my second son, I became like a Westerner and decided that we won't have children again. 2 children was more than enough because we don't have money, but that is not typical of an African. An African had as many children as they wanted, as long as God gave them the ability to take care of it, talking like a Nigerian rather than talking like an American. So we are Nigerian-American because we were able to go beyond that thought of, oh, with just me and myself or me and this child. And our third child was Olulonishishe, meaning even though we made a decision not to have any more children, God overcame that decision, and therefore his arrival was not because of the will of man, but because of the will of God. And of course, after that, made another mistake and thinking, now that I have 3 boys, they're not going to have any children again. That's it. My 3 boys, and that's it. 3 children are more than enough. However, as God will have it, my wife desired a girl, and we had a girl. And the girl's name was Olufoyinsola, meaning God has added honey upon wealth. And I've mentioned before that having children is a wealth, and honey upon wealth just reflected like having an icing upon cake. And that exactly was why the names are. So names are important in the Nigerian-American heritage, and I can, from just knowing the name, whether it's an Igbo name, a Hausa name, a Fulani name, an Arabic name, a Yoruba name, an Igbo name, or an Efik name, be able to tell you a window into that person's family. So names will always be important, and that's why when children of immigrants have children, grandparents will want to be involved in being able to name the children.